This isn't one of my comedy videos. This is just a roundup of the whole LEH situation where I was trying to get hold of a copy of the Jehovah's Witnesses child safeguarding policy. So from my previous video, you will be aware that I phoned up London Bethel, and a nameless person who gave me a desk reference, LEH, told me that if I wrote in that they would send me a copy of the Child Safeguarding Policy 2010 that I had seen at Mark Latham's house, because he had a copy, so I know it exists. Now, somewhere in the conversation, LEH did tell me that, first of all, that if I applied to the local body of elders, that they could provide me with a copy, and this fact is relevant later on in this story. So after that telephone conversation, which you will have now seen, I wrote a letter on the 16th of August, and among other things I said, please would you send me a copy of the Jehovah's Witness Child Protection Policy. Okay, so Bethel wrote back to me on a letter of 27th of August, and this is what they said. Based on your correspondence in which you cite clauses from the Child Safeguarding Policy, we assume that you already have a copy of the main document. In case you do not have access to the articles which form part of the policy, we enclose them for your reference. And what they sent me was a pile of bunk that was just basically Watchtower articles photocopied. And I didn't have a copy of the Child Safeguarding Policy document, and so I wrote back to them on the 8th of September. And I said, thank you for your letter. I do not have a copy of the Child Safeguarding Policy 2010. Please will you send me a copy of the Child Safeguarding Policy 2010? And they wrote back to me on the 15th of September, and this is their letter, which you can see there. Dear Miss Good, thank you for your letter dated 8th of September 2014. We have nothing further to add to our letter to you dated August 27, 2014. So basically a second refusal to send me a copy of the Child Safeguarding Policy, in addition to the original refusal to send me a copy when I phoned them up. So I was incensed for about 24 hours at this utter arrogance that, having spoken to LEH, Mystery Man of London, on the phone, who assured me and promised me that he would write back and send me a copy, that this hadn't happened. So this is the letter that I wrote to them on the 23rd of September of this year. Dear Designated Safeguarding Officer, reference LEH, I acknowledge receipt of your letter September 15, 2014, refusing for a second time to send me your Child Safeguarding Policy 2010. I have been trying to obtain this document on behalf of the Charities Commission, who are currently investigating your charitable status in a statutory inquiry dated 27th of May. I previously advised the Charities Commission that due to the very secretive nature of your organisation, you would not give out the Child Safeguarding Policy to an ordinary member of the public who asked for it, but that in all likelihood you would provide it to an official representative of the Charities Commission. This has sadly proved to be the case, and it has now gone on record in the statutory inquiry that you have refused once on the phone and twice to written requests to give a member of the public a public policy document. You now need to be aware that, as well as the grave concerns expressed to me today by the Charities Commission investigating officer in charge of the statutory investigation, several MPs have expressed surprise at your high level of information control, and the CCPAS (brackets Churches Child Protection Advisory Service) (brackets) have gone on record as saying, and this quote is a letter to myself, there appears to be significant problems with the way in which this organisation's child protection policies are being implemented at the local level, and therefore we would advise that an independent investigation into the organisation's safeguarding policy and practice should be initiated with the purpose of reviewing safeguarding policy and practice in the light of UK law and policy. And then I sign off the letter to Bethel. Yours sincerely, Louise Good. Okay, so I've heard nothing back from them, although that letter was fairly recent, wasn't it? 23rd of September, it's now the 2nd of October 2014. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting to see if they reply to that, because I want to rattle their cage. The problem with this situation is there is no legal duty for a church to provide a child safeguarding policy. However, most churches do. In fact, I would hasten to say that all churches do. The fact that the Jehovah's Witnesses have indeed produced a child safeguarding policy in 2010 shows that they are cognizant that it is good practice. However, their failure to provide it to anyone that asks is really strange. Now, there's a follow-up to this story, because a few days ago I got an elder's visit from two elders, and they were really nice. Now, my daughter had previously fielded them on the door for me when I was out, and she said, oh, they were really nice. And I said to her, oh, they'd be here to disfellowship me then. Anyway, they caught me off guard last Wednesday night, and I answered the door thinking it was someone else. And there they were, two elders, and they were really nice. And they said, oh, we've been sent by Bethel because we're concerned that there's a sister who needs something. Is there anything you need? And I said, yes, I need the child safeguarding policy for the Jehovah's Witness religion 2010. And both of them looked utterly stunned, and they had clearly no idea what I was talking about. These elders of my old congregation, who'd been elders for lots of years, longer than I've been born, had no idea that there was a child safeguarding policy, and they were being genuine. He looked stunned, and when I mentioned it again, he said, well, if such a document exists. And I said, the document does exist. I've seen it at a friend's house. And he said, well, can we provide you with any magazines? And I said, no, you can provide me with the Child Safeguarding Policy 2010. Now, I am going to do a comedy video on this visit because it was utterly hilarious, so I won't talk much more about what was said. But here's the thing. The London Bethel has refused once on the phone and twice by letter to provide the child safeguarding policy document that does exist. The elders who came to visit me had no idea that it existed. But here's the thing. Mark Latham of the renowned and wonderful Cora and Mark partnership has provided me with a PDF copy of the Jehovah's Witnesses Child Safeguarding Policy 2010. So here's what I'm going to do, and here's what you're going to do. I'm going to wait a little while to see if they reply to my cage rattling letter. And if they don't, and if they do, I'm going to write back to them and tell them that thank you very much, I now have a copy of the Child Safeguarding Policy, and that I will be happy to distribute it on their behalf as they seem incapable of distributing it. And we'll see where that takes us, because wouldn't it be interesting if they tried to sue me under copyright law for distributing a public document? Here's what you can do. You may wish to phone up London Bethel and ask them if you can have a copy of their child safeguarding policy. And there's the number. Feel free to freeze the video and phone them up. It's the Child Safeguarding Policy 2010. It's been written. There's nothing contentious in there, actually. I've seen the document, and it won't take us any further in the fight against injustice. But what it does do is highlight the fact that they are a high control organisation who refuses to give out anything. When you've phoned up London Bethel and you've succeeded or not succeeded in getting hold of this document, you may wish to email the Charities Commission, who are investigating the Jehovah's Witnesses right now. And this is their email address. Sorry, it doesn't quite fit on. There we go. IAE Investigations CRM at charitycommission.gsi.gov.uk. And you may want to quote the fact that the investigation was opened on the Jehovah's Witness religion on the 27th of May 2014. Now, the main thing to communicate to the Charities Commission is if you have any personal UK stories of being shunned by the Jehovah's Witnesses and the impact that that has had, because that is clearly against the public policies that a charity should have. Of secondary nature is whether you can get hold of the child safeguarding document or not, because when I spoke to the investigating officer, he said to me there is no legal there's no legal liability for them to provide such a document. It's nice if they do, but that's not what we can nail them on. So I think really, if you're going to email the Charities Commission, try and give them some personal information from the UK on something that they can be nailed on. Something like the shunning policy, any child sex abuse cases that you personally know of or have been involved in or have been touched by. All those things that are clearly against the workings of a good, healthy charity. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon about my next plan with the PDF document that Mark Latham passed on to me. Thank you very much.